Idle here, continuing on the any percent glitch tutorial with the 5D skip. This is a modification of the route. It is a little more difficult. The movement is not normalized and only saves about 10 to 15 seconds or so. So if you're more interested in just completing the route, I'd recommend sticking with the original tutorial. However, whether you're doing the old route or the new route, I do have a few updates since the last tutorial I want to get through. The first of which is the practice hack did get an update. We fixed one more issue with any percent glitched, so recommend getting onto the 2.7.5.2 version here. And there's been a slight change to these addresses. These changed just very slightly. It doesn't really make any difference. And then, oh no, actually it was these that changed. These changed. But again, it doesn't make any difference. And then this one changed, and this does make a difference. So this layer 1 sub Y was originally recommended to be a 0. I'm now recommending this be an F. It's going to make a block appear. I did mention in the tutorial that if a block appears, you can just morph and roll into the block. I went back and watched Nick's PB, and he actually landed on this block and just ran off of it. That's even faster. So this F, even rolling off of it, I think is faster. But if you can don't even have to morph, then it's even faster to do this. So I'm recommending that we switch this over to an F. The way we do that, manipulate that block, is when we're falling into the room. So it's this value on the right. This 0 is what this 0 ending in 0 is what matters here. See, it's not really changing. But if we fall and morph, suddenly it becomes FF. So this just morphing into this and rolling like this seems to set it. And then this will make the bomb block appear, and you can morph it. You could definitely morph and roll into it. I tried it once running into it. It worked. I'm going to try it some more during this tutorial here and make sure that it works out. The other updates for the original route, there's something with there's a little bit of RNG. You can get a little bit of bad luck at the end after you collect X-ray before you get to the door transition to landing site. We talk about that at the very end of this tutorial, and I think that might be it. I feel like I'm missing something. Maybe I think I mixed up the order of what I was going to talk about. So, yeah. Oh no, there is one more thing. Just a public service announcement. Don't do what I'm doing right here. Don't just sit here and let time expire. So if you're, I talked about in the tutorial that one of these values is a timer. So if we were to switch this over, oops, not that. I didn't do anything. Switch this one. So now we can see it's counting up. So if I were to just sit here long enough and then do the run, if this value ticks over to 2000 something, I'm going to get different blocks. Although interestingly, that this value no longer matters if you do the 5D skip because this number is for the 5D. But once you get the block shuffler, that starts a timer. I think the block shuffler timer is about 9 minutes or so. If that clock runs out, the game will likely crash. And that's also true for these special blocks, whether it's this first 5D block, the 6F blocks that we like roll under and unmorph over. I believe all of those blocks are creating these draw instructions that are on a timer. And once that timer runs out, it might be a few minutes, it might be 9 minutes, the game will crash. So if you just walk away for 10 minutes, the game might be crashed. That would be normal. That's not a practice tech bug. And also, you don't want to just like let it sit, go to the bathroom for a couple, be gone for a couple minutes, come back, and then start playing because your timers are going to have counted down. So you'll want to reload a state. Save, take your break, reload. That was what I was going to mention. That applies to both old and new route. Okay, let's get into it. So first thing we got to cover for the 5D skip is a slight adjustment. So we start up here. We would save, load here, roll in. We're gonna leave this first schemer. Oh my gosh. This first schemer here, we're gonna leave the schemer alive. So that's the first adjustment. We're just Just leave this gamer alive. It doesn't even get in the way. It's a little bit obnoxious to jump around it, but it's otherwise. See if I can do that again without like all the wall jump fails. But that gamer's not a global one either, so it should be in a similar position. See, there I was a bit slow. Still not in my way. I'm able to do the setup still. And we should be able to see if I pop over to that address. Yep, 6F. So just leave that gamer alive. Nothing else changes about this part of the run. So I'm going to get back to where I was out of bounds. I'll go ahead and show this, and then we'll go ahead and morph. Oh, I was like, why didn't that number change? Because I changed the address. There we go. There you go. I have noticed that I'm picking up. So right now I have an FD, which is good. Oh yeah, that's not what you want to do. I mixed up my strats there. That should be okay. Oh no, that's not okay either. That's right. Okay. Yeah, I'm mixing up my strats here. I was trying something new out where I just go quick like this, but you need to wait a lot longer to unmorph if you're going to do that. But I've noticed that sometimes, right now it's still FD. I've noticed sometimes I get here and it's already FE, and then when I do this run over, it's now I've lost another one. So I've noticed there's kind of I have been kind of looking to see if I can improve that a little bit. So just something to be aware of. I really don't want to have to start doing an extra wall jump check, which is one thing you could do to make that value like an FC or an FB or FA, because that's just slower. You're spending extra time doing the wall jump checks, but might have to be done. Okay, so this part of this part here. Normally we come up here, we land here, we jump into the block shuffler. I'm gonna go ahead and change over to or skip so I can see PLMs. We start at 11. Oh well, just trust me, it's at 11, and we run into this and it goes to 12. Okay. What we're going to do the exact same thing, except as we're approaching the block shuffler, we're going to switch our D-pad inputs from right to down to left, right down left, really fast, right down left. And then we also want to be holding right at the end so we land over here. So I've actually been going for right down, left down, right, just to, I feel like that tricks my brain into wanting to do it even faster. Instead of right down, left, it's right down, left, and right. It's like, it wants to, like, you kind of go forward and back. And that just kind of makes me want to go even faster with it, which is good because you do need to go pretty quick with these inputs. So let's see if we can do it. So same setup here. We do a full jump, left input here, right, down, left, and right. And there we got it. So did you see, if you notice how long that delay was? If it's twice as long of a delay, then we get an extra PLM. Our count went up to 13. You can even get an even longer delay and you'll get a 14. Both work. But it is important to know, if you get the long delay, then you have to go for the new route. If you go for this, oops, I didn't get it. Okay, it was the normal delay. You could still do the original route. You just, I go like this. I fall down here, morph, fall down here, and do a jump, and go this direction and land in this block over here. So everything's the same. And that's one of the things I like about this. You can go for it, but if you don't get it, you can just go for the old route. Now, one thing to keep in mind, remember how we kept that gamer alive? This block right here, I'm bunking my head into. This green block here is what's new. We're going to use this to wall jump. But with my setup, to get over here for me, well, don't do that. But to get over here for me, I don't ever get, this block's not in my way. But I think some of the instructions that Andy Matterhorse came up with for if you have both angles, you do like a jump from here, and this block would get in your way. So just something to keep in mind, that if that block is going to be a problem for you, maybe you don't go for this route, or maybe you just got to fully commit to it. In my situation, if I can see that it was a normal delay, I go for the old. I just pick up the 5D block. I missed it. If I see the longer delay, then I know I can go for it. So let's set that up again. Now, sometimes you'll notice if you hear the space jump sound the whole way through, like like the normal one, then that almost certainly means you're not going to get it. Sometimes you'll hear the space jump get interrupted, but you still don't get it. So that's not a clue by itself. You got to go off the time. I got it there. That was a longer delay. Okay, so now we're here and we're against this wall. Let's go ahead and save. So starting the unnormalized movement here. We're going to turn left, do a jump. So we're going to do a normalized spin jump here, and then wall jump here, and then we got to land right about here. And unfortunately, neither one of these are normalized. This wall jump's a pretty decent window because you kind of land at like an if we set that up again, you kind of hit it at an optimal spot there where you're going to be brushing against this for many frames. Um, Landing here is tricky though because you can't just land anywhere up here. Because from here, what I want to do is do a turn. I can do an angle turn, so I stay on the ground, release angle, and then spin jump over here, and then we're going to do this thing. But we could see, like, if I had started over here, I don't even make the jump. You could also be like, you could just barely make the jump, and then, like when you go to turn, you fall off. So unfortunately, this is not normalized. By the way, it does look like, see, there's some other blocks over here. This shot block above my head is usually here. I don't know what this is. These blocks below me are not always here. This block over these blocks here, I was originally like, oh, I'll just wall jump off these. I was looking into this. These blocks are based on enemy movements. But this is all enemy RAM we're in. In fact, that's why leaving that gamer alive created a green block over here. The thing is that the green blocks seem to be pretty consistent. Like, not only it looks like there's another group over here, but this group is just less helpful to us. It's hard to get over here. These green blocks, not only are they consistent, but there doesn't seem to be anything in the immediate vicinity. So these are pretty reliable, whereas these blue ones over here, you might be able to find a setup to make these consistent, but I'm skeptical. And it helps that we do land right here, so we are set up for this. You can use sound cues to try to gauge how long you've jumped for. I just hold. When I want to land, I hold angle and then I let go of forward, and then I kind of land in this where I'm looking spot I'm looking for. And you can keep jump held too. So hold angle. You can hold when you're ready to land. Hold angle, release left, keep jump held. So now all I have to do is with angle and jump still held, turn, release angle, spin jump over here, turn, and then you can either do the normalized jump, and then I just jump like this. I just do this jump here. So this is also not normalized, but I was already doing that not normalized. And then I jump over here. And then another angle jump turn, release angle, land here. Okay, so is that right? Something looked off there. I'm going to do that again. Okay. Let's save here. So this is the extra block that's appeared, this blue block. You can tell we're on it, like in this situation, because we have not paused, we can still see the regular room. I'm looking for Samus's kneecap. I can see the kneecap. If I were down like here, you can imagine how much lower I'd be. I wouldn't be able to see that kneecap. If we pause, if you're going like the old route and you've paused, I suppose you could. I'm looking at the foot. I can see her whole foot basically. Whereas if I was down here, you can see the foot would be covered by this block that's beneath me. So those are my cues to see whether I've got it or not. If you don't see that, then you just do the normal setup. You run this way, you jump turn, and then you run forward. But here, Just run forward. This seems to be working. My PLM count is going from 13 to 15. That's what we want to see. So I think the instructions said to morph. This is even better because we're already just set up for it. Okay. And then we just go into, so the next part is normal. So spin, angle turn, spin, angle turn, spin, angle turn, spin, angle turn. Okay, I want to save here. Okay, so let's look at what this used to look like. We're going to go into, this is what it would look like before. We're going to go into this. You land on here, and this is where we're getting X-ray. So then you would do this thing. You can line up with your visor, morph, unmorph. Okay, that's really tight, so maybe I would probably morph and morph again. Oh shoot, I can't unmorph. I actually did clip the block. Okay. Now let's look at see what it looks like if we haven't paused. Whoops, that was not quite right. I let go of right. There. But it's basically the same thing. Where's Samus? She's here. So we've lost like all of our visual information here. So now we have to decide what to do. So originally, one idea I had was to pause while I'm jumping. So do it like this. I'm a little bit worried that Samus will not always land here, though. But if you do this, you at least get your visual information back. Oh, look at this. Look at this. This white thing, I touched this block. I didn't even see that happen. So when I started, I'm at 15, right? That time I didn't touch it, but somehow I touched this block. It looked like I landed in the same exact spot, and I actually didn't, and I touched this block. You cannot touch this block early, because once you do, once it turns white, you need to have gotten 4 PLMs out of it. If you only got 1 PLM, it's over. So I found this to be too risky, and also one of the reasons we're doing the 5D skip is to avoid pausing. So I'm just planning to yield. Well, another thing we could do, you could kind of see where you are, right? You could morph, unmorph, and then if you land up here, then you got it. Let's see one where we don't get it. So I can't see Samus. So let's unmorph again. Oh, I can see Samus. So that's another option. But that's a little bit slow too. So I'm thinking I'm just going to YOLO it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold angle. I'm going to do 2 nudges forward, like this, morph, roll, something like that. This is risky because you could just didn't do it right there. You could mess up and do this, and now I think, oh, I've touched the block, but I haven't, and now the run's going to fail. You could, your nudges could be overly aggressive. You could do that. So it's risky, but it's fast because you're just going to go nudge, nudge, down like this, and then once you do this, we do right, left, right. The first right and left might need to be a little bit more to it just to make sure you exit this block and also to make sure you turn back. The left should probably be even more of a press, like you really, hold left for a little bit to make sure you're pressed against this block, and then a quick tap right to get position. So nudge, nudge, morph. See, I almost fell off there. Nudge, nudge, morph, like this. And then we go into this. For the down back, I've been for this X-ray down back, I've been starting to think of it almost like a cheat code entering, like it's like right, left, down, right. Like I've been thinking about it like that. There's a little bit of rhythm to it, and maybe don't listen to what I just said. You got to kind of feel, you got to do some practice and feel for the rhythm. But instead of trying to think of the inputs individually, I'm thinking of it more like a cheat code of right, left, down, right. Just that's the input. That's the magic code to make the X-ray go. So let's see, nudge, nudge, down. It's more like right, left, down, right. But even that timing, you know, you gotta have the right rhythm to it, the right timing to it to make sure you turn around at the right moment. Um, yeah, and I think that's so. Let's do it blind. Let's see if we can do it blind. There we go. Okay, so by the way, if you're ever wondering if you got it, you could, if you can select the X-ray, that tells you, but also just if you can morph. If you didn't get it, you probably have morph, but you don't have it equipped. Okay, now what do we do? I'm breaking my rule. I'm just kind of standing here. I think I'll be okay. Um, I wanted to talk one more thing, and this is if you're watching the end of the video from the old route I mentioned. I was going to mention at the end of the video the RNG portion of it. So let's look at this. Let's look at the viewer here. By the way, I mentioned doing these inputs kind of quickly, like quickly lay the bomb, quickly unmorph. I don't know if that advice was actually the best. Um, what I do know, when I said you need to practice as much, I definitely agree with it. I have a strong tendency to either clip this block, do that, sometimes I click this block, and then you might bounce over to this. What I've been doing to try to counteract that, after unmorph, I start holding angle. You could potentially hold both angles if you want. I'm holding both angles just because I put dash and L, so don't pay attention to that. But you could, if you have both angles, you could potentially hold them and maybe stop on this block. I don't know if that's better or not. I've been choosing to hold one angle, and then as soon as I hear a thud, I let go of the D-pad and I try to stop. If you ever hear two thuds, you know you missed. You know you did not end up here. You probably are like over here. But if you can stop here, usually you overshoot to the left. So what I've been doing is I turn to the right, then I morph, and I go left. And this will take me to the door transition. Yeah. Okay. See? Oh, I heard two thuds. I normally would have stopped here. I kind of cheated because I could see the blocks coming. But even if I did stop here, turning to the right, morph left, that would still work. So it's not going to save you every time, but it's something to keep in mind. I promised there'd be RNG. Okay, what is this RNG I'm talking about? It looks like I got pretty lucky here. Well, not pretty lucky. I avoided getting unlucky. Let's see if we can find an unlucky block. I'm just gonna search around here. Sometimes, yeah, here's one. Sometimes these shop blocks will just appear, and I believe it's an open bus read. So if I've actually done a video on the space-time beam and why that beam is unstable, and a whole explanation about it. It's a very similar thing happening here. We're copying a lot of data into room data. Over half of it's valid data, but there's I think 3/8 of it is about 3/8 of it is not valid memory that we're copying from. And normally, when you copy from not valid memory, it's called an open bus read, and you just get kind of like the last byte that's in memory, and it will usually be the same. So in this case, it seems to be 0 or error, and that's why this huge gulf here. All of this is like open bus read memory. It's just empty. It's not valid memory we're copying from. You just get a lot of zeros. But every once in a while, remember the block shuffler has that delay, right? It kind of takes a bunch of time to execute. Well, you get the idea. There was a block over there, right? It while it's taking its time to execute, you're going to have these interrupts. Like you're going to have it's time to start the next frame. You know, we're rendering to the screen every frame. There's an interrupt for that. The HUD at the top, I believe there's an interrupt for that as well. When the HUD stops and the rest of the screen starts. So whenever these interrupts happen, if it interrupts one of these open bus reads, it could, when you come back, you end up with something that's not 0 in memory. And it seems like it's usually a shot block. Now, that will not crash your game. And as we saw, that shot block was way out of the way. But occasionally, you could just have a shot block just appear like right here, like in your path. It could just appear here. So you could do everything right, and a shot block could just appear here and you skip off of it. But what I'm saying about letting go of the D-pad, keeping hold of angle, and then as soon as you hear a second landing, go move to the right, that may save you in that situation as well. It may not always. I imagine there are situations where that RNG just unavoidably blocks your path. It's possible. It's pretty unlikely. The space-time beam was happening. The issues with space-time beam were happening in heated rooms where there was an interrupt literally every scan line. So this screen we're looking at, I think it's like 200 some scan lines. Every single one of those lines, there'd be an interrupt at the end. So a lot of opportunities for interrupts. We're not in a heated room. There are not nearly as many interrupts happening here. So there aren't that many of those shot blocks that are going to appear to begin with. And the odds of one actually appearing in your path are low. But it can happen. I've had it happen to me in practice. I've seen it once in a task I was working on. So it it could happen, but it's not very likely. I just wanted to make people aware of that potential RNG if you just hit a block and you're like, why didn't I see it in the practice act? First off, if you practice enough, you probably will see it eventually in the practice act. Um, but it could just happen. It's more likely, though, more likely you just more likely you land on this block or this block. These blocks, you get pretty close to these as you're going. So, um, yeah, I think that's the whole spiel for the 5D skip. Everything from this point on is the same. And yeah, thanks for watching.